Welcome to another episode of Erik Wait Whiskey Studies, and in this video, gonna do a review of the Glenfiddich 14-year-old Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. But before I get into this whiskey, I'm gonna tell you about the profile of Glenfiddich Distillery, their core range, and this whiskey. Glenfiddich Distillery is located in the Speyside borough of Dufftown in Moray, Scotland. The name Glenfiddich means Valley of the Deer in Scottish Gaelic, which is reflected in Glenfiddich's stag logo. Glenfiddich Distillery was founded in 1886 by William Grant in Dufftown, Scotland, in the Glen of the River Fiddick. Glenfiddich Distillery has been owned by William Grant & Sons since 1903. Glenfiddich's water source is the Robbie Dew Spring. They have a stainless steel semi-lauter mash tun, 32 washbacks. There are 43 distinctively shaped swan neck copper pot stills, 16 wash stills, and 27 spirit stills. They use shell and tube condensers, and they have dunnage, racked, and palletized warehouses. Glenfiddich's core range. The Glenfiddich 12-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey, aged for 12 years in bourbon and Oloroso sherry casks, bottled at 40% alcohol by volume. The Glenfiddich 15-year-old Solera single malt Scotch whiskey, aged for a minimum of 15 years, married in a Solera, and bottled at 40% alcohol by volume. The Glenfiddich 18-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey, aged for a minimum of 18 years in bourbon and Oloroso sherry casks, is bottled at 43% alcohol by volume. The Glenfiddich 21-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey, aged for at least 21 years in a bourbon cask and finished in a rum cask, bottled at 40% alcohol by volume. The Glenfiddich 14-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey, aged for a minimum of 14 years in bourbon cask, bottled at 43% alcohol by volume, and sells for about $52 in my neighborhood. So, I think this whiskey is an American or USA release only. So you may not be able to find this in Scotland or in Europe or anywhere else in the world. So my apologies if this is not available. This is a really nice whiskey, but it comes across to me as a bourbon lover's malt. So if you like the oak intensity and all the secondary characteristics you get from an oak cask, but you want a malt underlying it rather than corn notes underlying it, this is a whiskey for you. So on the nose, I get apple pie, cinnamon, nutmeg, a lot of vanilla. All those typical oak cask characteristics you get from a bourbon. The difference is, in a bourbon, you're typically going to get some sort of corn note. Might be caramel corn or baked corn or cornbread or something like that. Instead, what you get is a maltiness. There's that grainy, cereally, malty character there. There's also some nice floral notes. There's a little bit of orange. But what is really driving the bus on this one is the cask spice notes. On the palate, the profile on this is really cask forward. It's a little woody, get a little hint of oak in there, cinnamon, bacon spices, maybe a little bit of clove, and medium plus intensity of vanilla. You get some apples, you get some pear, a little bit of citrus, perhaps a little bit of lemon, and a little bit of orange. The development isn't that huge. It doesn't have a whole lot of transitions from the front and the middle and into the finish. It has a moderate texture to it, you know, moderate viscosity to it. It doesn't feel really thin. It's not quite watery, so I'm happy about that. But I wouldn't want to add any water to this. However, I did find that if you want to drink this as a cocktail and put it on ice, or use it as mixing a cocktail, as you would say with a bourbon, it works really well. I enjoy this as a drink, putting it on rocks in a rocks glass. It has a nice long finish, but the finish you're getting is, it is spice driven. So this is a malt that is really cask heavy forward rather than spirit forward, or showing a lot of indication of age. It's crisp, it's clean, and all that, but it's really a cask forward malt that comes across as a Scottish cousin to a bourbon. If you like that, then this whiskey is for you. If you don't like that really oaky characteristic in a whiskey, hence you're more of a Scotch fan than a bourbon fan, then this whiskey is not for you. I like this. I think it's at a decent price. I would give this, you know, around 87 points. 87 points. What would I want to get it higher? Get me up over 90. It needs a little bit more oomph. It needs more variation. It needs more something going on there. It wouldn't be bad to give it a little bit of a sherry cask character to this, but I think for the American audience, for the American consumer, this is what they're going for. Someone who is accustomed to enjoying a bourbon. Other than that, it's a nice whiskey. All right, that's it for this review. If you subscribe to this channel, thank you very much. If you've not yet subscribed, but you like watching my videos, I would greatly appreciate it. If you would subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I go live or post a new video. And until next time, cheers. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.